Hey, we're talking about Skeleton Crew. Up next on Geek SA.
Do not attempt to adjust your YouTube video. We control the stream.
And welcome back to Geek Out SA. It's Saturday and we're having fun.
Yay!
Yay! So we're back again.
We're back again.
We're going to be consistent this year.
Sure we are.
So a lot of stuff has been happening. We're going to have MLK on Monday. And we're going to have the presidential inauguration on Monday.
Yes.
I think they're doing that inside because the weather's going to be horrible.
Well, yeah, and here in South Texas, it's supposed to be...
Yeah, super cold.
So we'll see how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
We're definitely... This show always makes me yawn. I'm having yawned the whole time, and then as soon as we get on, I yawn. I don't know what it is, if I'm looking at the lights and it makes me yawn or what. But we are not used to the cold here in South Texas. My friend who's in Washington State, I'm always texting him like the weather, like, oh my God, look, it's gonna be this, and he's like, oh yeah, do you have your t-shirts ready or whatever? And I'm like, shut up. And then he sends me the Washington State, and I'm like, oh, alrighty then. No thank you, no thank you. So yeah, we're gonna be nice and cold, so we'll have plenty of time to get under the blankies and watch our TV.
And one more thing we might not be able to get to do a lot of is watching TikTok, because that's going away tonight at midnight. So
personally, I personally don't care. It's become a real problem for young people and in the classroom, and these ideas of how people should act and how people should treat one another. So I don't really care. What I care about is fairness.
But regardless of what social network is doing, it's going to be the same for any social network.
Yeah.
So
but all I really
if TikTok
care is
is not doing it, somebody else is going to do it.
Yeah.
So, but I guess you won't be seeing us there anymore.
We didn't do a whole lot on there anyway.
No, well, I had been.
Yeah.
I do a lot of the games on there. So, but today we're talking about Skeleton Crew, and we've watched. Have we watched the whole season?
We watched the whole season. It's all done now.
Eight episodes.
Yeah. Definitely not enough. No, I think it was enough, right?
I think it was just enough.
It was just enough.
I think it ended the way it needed to end. It had a definite ending. Mm-hmm. For that, I mean, there's not to say that there couldn't be more, because they left it open for more.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to follow the story arc, and there was a good resolution at the end. But yeah, I think they left it open for them to potentially go off planet and start doing some more, and potentially seeing if there's some force-sensitive people there at Aten, and so it'll be really interesting to see if they do another season.
Right. So if you don't know what we're talking about at all, if you're just watching this right now, if you haven't seen Skeleton Crew, we have a trailer for you right here.
Let me try it again and see if it just went burp, burp, burp. No, it doesn't want to work. I don't know what happened.
That's surprising, because I think it happened before again, that the file just got deleted.
Ah.
So I don't know if maybe there was like
I don't know.
Copyright on there.
Oh, maybe.
But so Skeleton Crew is an interesting concept.
So we had this argument about it the other day. Not necessarily an argument, but it was an argument. Where I was like, oh, it's basically Goonies Star Wars. In my opinion, it's like Goonies Star Wars. Like, here we have this treasure. Now, not necessarily that the kids are going to look for the treasure. they actually come from the planet of Treasure. But
Treasure Planet.
Treasure Planet. But they don't even realize that they're from Treasure Planet. But they're, they're like going together and they're trying to stay together and they kind of fight amongst each other sometimes and they befriend, a robot. And I just had very Goonies vibes with it. Like it was very Goonie-ish. No?
A little bit.
I thought so. I thought yes.
There just wasn't. You can't have Goonies without that same comedy, I think.
Yeah, and there wasn't that much comedy in this one. This was a little more straight and narrow. Obviously, the comedy comes a lot from the robot. I think Star Wars likes to do the robots being the kind of...
Do you know who plays him?
No, who?
Nick Frost.
Who's that?
From Nick Frost is from what is that zombie movie with the redhead? Shaun of the Dead.
Oh,
he's his friend.
He's the friend that is the zombie at the end that plays the video game with him. That's funny. I like that guy. He's funny.
Yeah,
I never know any actors' names. I don't know what to say. So yeah, I mean, I got this general kind of Goonies-esque vibe from it. Here's these 4 little kids. And the little one, he and his little elephant friend, they find a spaceship. But then the little girls come in and kind of like basically Tom Sawyer them into like working for them and doing this so that then they can kind of get into the spaceship and take it over. But none of them realize that it's actually a spaceship when they first get into it. The little boy is really hoping it's like an old Jedi temple. He's very much like, if he had a Jedi action figure, that would be like his favorite thing.
Well, he wants for more than this planet.
Yeah. Well, and he knows
it kind of gives me the vibe
Jedis.
of Luke in Episode 6. Like he feels
like
more.
There's more.
Yeah, he feels like there's more, and they don't go off planet at all.
Yeah. On Tatooine.
No, I'm talking about on Skeleton.
Oh, on Ad-Atten. Well, on Ad-Atten, they don't even realize, like the young kids, they don't even realize that there's anything off planet for them to find, for them to do, right? They don't know that there is such a thing as off planet. I mean, they kind of do, but they don't exactly.
Right. For this show, I really like the show, and if you think it's kind of like a kiddie show, I don't think it's necessarily a kiddie show.
No, I don't think
I don't think it was made for kids.
I don't think it's geared to kids.
No.
I think if you don't like children, you're probably not gonna like this. Because they are children and they do childish things and they don't understand. And
but it's a different aspect of what we get to see, because we don't necessarily get to see Star Wars from the eyes of a child.
Right.
We do a little bit in Episode 1, little bit, but not much with Anakin, because he's already like what? 12?
Well, he's about the same age
10?
that they are in this. Yeah, he's about the same age.
But it's just him.
But he's been in Anakin and his mom have been slaves. They've been in servitude.
So he's not like a kid.
He's been made to work, and he's
been made to grow up before his time.
Yeah, and he's driven the pod racers and everything. Whereas the little girls, you get some of that. Right, mm-hmm. They're very daring. They're a little reckless. They ride their little speeder bikes. They're kind of like, too cool for school kind of kids.
Right.
A lot of them have like high-ranking parents,
mm-hmm.
so they're balking against all of that. So it's this little rebel without a cause kind of thing that they have going on. The girls, anyway.
Right.
The boys, the little elephant boy, he's just like. He's so much friends with the other little boy that he's like, okay, we'll play Jedi, we'll do whatever. We found this cool thing. It's a Jedi temple. Like, I'll go with you.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Like, let's just be friends. We'll do all the friends things. And then the other little boy, like you said, he's so, like, his head is so much in the clouds, and he knows there's more, and he won't study. And it's not because he's too cool for school. It's because he just doesn't want this life, right?
Right.
He's like Belle from Beauty and the Beast. I want so much more than they've got planned.
Goes up all our Disney. They pull everything from Disney into Star Wars.
All the Disney into Star Wars. So I think it is cute. I don't know that it's made for children, but
it's cute, but it's not cutesy. I don't find it cutesy.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's not cutesy. It's almost like, it almost kind of also reminds me of, if anybody has seen AI with Haley Joel Osment, when he's like the little robot, and then he sends him out there, and Jude Law, who's, again, he's the pirate guy in this one, but he's like the gigolo robot in that one, right? And they're so naive, right?
Gigolo
Joe and the little robot boy, they're so naive about the world.
This one is much dark. His character is much darker in this.
His character is much darker, but it's that same kind of juxtaposition about, here's these kids who are so naive to the world. Like, they are so naive to the galaxy. They are so naive to the world.
They don't know how much stuff costs, because everything that they use credits for there is super cheap. So you have a whole bunch of credits it's super cheap in their eyes. So they're using all these credits to buy stuff when that one credit is worth tons.
Like tons out there in the galaxy.
Off-world.
Yeah. And then they come from this planet that is the one that makes the credits. And so they don't realize that nobody else knows about their planet. Like, people know about their planet, but it's so well guarded that people don't know how to get there. And so they end up putting everybody in their planet in danger because they've gone off planet and they don't know what they're doing, and they're flashing all these credits, and they don't know who to talk to. And so it's, I guess it's an interesting view also on what should parents tell their kids, right? How much should you let your kids know? What do your kids need to be aware of? How old do they need to be before they're aware of it, And the parents do kind of say that towards the end. They're like, we've done you a disservice. We didn't let you know how this goes and how this would play out in the actual world. We probably should have let you know.
During the season, it kind of gave me a little bit of the Lord of the Flies vibe, a little in there, in that where certain people took leadership, and then that kind of like gets kind of mixed up there a little bit.
Well, and you see at one point they have a split because they're kids, right? And they think that things should be going differently. And the little boy Wynn, he's the one who finds the spaceship and everything, so he thinks he should be in charge. And then the little girl, and God, I forgot her name now. She's older. She's like Fern. Yeah, she's done a little more and stuff, and so she has kind of made herself captain, right? And so she feels like she knows best, and Wynn feels like he knows best, and they're always kind of butting heads. And the other two are just kind of like trying to juggle.
You bring Jude Law, which is Jude Law's character, into the mix.
And then they both know that there's something wrong with him.
Yeah.
But they both have different ways that they want to deal with it. So then there comes a point where they actually
but there's all this
split
mystery.
Up too.
There's all this mystery with him because you don't know if he's bad or good.
we're all pretty sure from the beginning that he's bad. You want him to be good, but you know I don't think you realize how bad he is until you see some of the stuff that he does, because you're like, did you really just do that to children? Like, you know what I mean? Because he does some things to help them.
But he doesn't actually hurt the kids. He never hurts the kids, not ever.
He gets pretty close, especially
he made it seem like he was going to, but he never did.
That last episode, he was going to hurt them. In the final episode, he was going to go too far. I think it was to show us how far someone will really go for money.
And then there's a little bit that you find out about him, that he was practicing to become a Jedi.
When Order 66
happened. When Order 66 happened.
That was sad when they found that out.
Yeah.
And you find out he's basically been kind of a street urchin. Mm-hmm. And then he gets found by his master, and he's getting taught. And so he's getting able to use this gift that's inside of him that he doesn't know how to use. And then Order 66 happens. And then he's back at being kind of alone, marginally taught, but not really, you know.
But it kind of shows you how you look at it when the same thing kind of happened with Cal Kestis. Mm-hmm. In the video games.
In the video games.
So, and you kind of see.
But Cal has in the video games, Cal has a stronger sense of self, of what's right.
Right and wrong.
Jude Law's character has been, and again, this comes back to some of what they say.
Yeah, but he knows what's right. He just chooses the opposite.
Well, but I think this comes back to what Yoda says with Anakin is, this is why we take them so young, is because at a certain point, you've kind of got your own ideas and your own ways of doing things. And Jude Law's been kind of a street urchin and been on his own. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, he's had a little bit of training, but you can't really train that out of him. So then he has this self-preservation in him. So when he sees this chance to go to this planet at Aten and to get all this money, so then he doesn't have to worry about self-preservation.
Right.
He feels the deep-seated need to take it, right? And so I think that's what we see kind of at the end of the story arc is, you know, he's on the cusp through a lot of it. He pushes it a little too far a lot of times, and you're like, wow, dude, really? It's like really a crappy thing to do, but it's like, okay, everybody lives, you know, kind of thing. And then in that last episode, he goes a little too far, I think.
He made it seem like he was going to, but he didn't actually do anything.
I don't know. He might.
Does he have enough of that light side in him that it just prevents him from going that far?
And maybe I felt like there was at some point in that last episode where we somewhat saw him have that internal struggle.
Right.
Of, I can just push this a little bit further. Because he does have the saber up to Fern's neck at one point. And you see him kind of struggling with, should I just do this? But he kind of likes her. He kind of likes these kids.
Well, he keeps giving her a chance, though. During that entire thing, he keeps giving her chances.
Well, because he knows what choice she's going to... He knows what choice she's going to take. He knows, because he's been with her long enough that he knows what she feels is right and wrong, what choice she's going to want to make. So he's watching out for her and Wynn, because he knows what choice they're going to make, you know. And so, but it was nice to see when they split. At one time they split up. So it's Wynn and Neil. Neil's the little like elephant guy, and then it's Fern and KB. And KB's like the little girl who's like part cyborg or whatever. And so most of the time it's like the two girls against the two boys.
Right.
Well, then at one point they're all kind of infighting or whatever, and they split up. And so Wynn ends up getting KB, and then Fern ends up getting Neil. So I thought that was really great, because then you get to see this chance to see kind of their other sides and how they interact with one another.
To see them without the turmoil happening.
Yeah. And you get to see, like, Win is just sweet and caring, and he's just curious about the world, and he really will go all out for the people that he cares for and what he thinks is right. And so you see him, like, working really hard to help KB because she has problems with her prosthetics and stuff, and he needs to help her with that. And then you see how loyal Neil is, and even then he's there with Fern and everything. And so you get to see even more, without the turmoil, their true kind of colors and some of their pain and some of their undecisiveness. And you almost get to see them be children even more in that episode when they split them all up like that, because their insecurities all come out and they feel a little bit more comfortable, because Fern is always trying to show, and KB, the girls, they're always trying to show each other, like, oh, I'm so tough, I'm tough enough to deal with anything, and so when you separate them out, some of their insecurities and stuff leak out. And then when you separate Win and Neil, then they end up kind of realizing that they're okay on their own without each other.
Yeah.
And they can kind of step up and do some things, which ends up being really cute and really good for Neil at the end, because he gets to take over the big gun by himself, and he's very confident by the end.
Yeah.
Like, at the beginning...
because they've been through so much.
Right. And at the beginning, you think, poor Neil, he's, like, not going to make it.
Yeah.
He's so soft and everything. And you really worry about Win, too, because he's pretty soft, too. The boys are much softer than the girls are in this. And so you think, these children are not going to make it.
Do you think Win is force sensitive?
I definitely think he wants to be.
But he seems to be very lucky.
Yeah.
And that's a trait that the Qui-Gon was saying can be a sign that they could have some force sensitivity.
I think they tried to kind of push it to us to where they're kind of, I thought, this was my interpretation, is he does, like, pay attention to little things, and he catches little things, and he's kind of a little sensitive to little nuances. So I think they were trying to lead us to the fact that that's why he's so into all of this.
But then they kind of break it when they have him turn on the lightsaber and it shoots down instead of up, because he doesn't know how to...
Because he doesn't know what to do. But again, he's a child who's never had a chance to use it. So in theory, he knows how it works.
Mm-hmm.
But then, But look at him, like, when you see that. So there's a scene where Jude Law has the lightsaber. He has been trained somewhat. And so he's been using it. Win desperately wants to use it. It's all he can think about, right? He wants to use it. He wants to be Jedi. He gets his soul crushed when he's told that there's no more Jedi, like it's not a thing anymore, right? So there's this big fight at the end, and Jude Law loses the lightsaber, gets kicked away from him. And so Win gets it, and he desperately wants to use it. And then, like Vincent said, he turns it on and it's upside down, and he loses it. And you feel, you laugh because it's funny, but you also feel really bad for this kid, because you kind of almost hope that it's a Rey moment where he's just like, and this is like totally in my soul.
Like, you can't do that. But the other cool thing is he gets the lightsaber at the end. Mm-hmm. And he is holding it right. So who knows where it goes from there. Does he end up training with Rey? Or when is this in the timeline?
Well, it's Order 66, so no, not Rey.
It's after Order 66.
But not that much after.
It's got to be...
like 20 years, maybe? I don't know. I don't know what the timelines are. I've never been that kind of fan. I'm not good at knowing what the timelines are and stuff. So I don't know if he would have to go train with Luke, or... Don't let him be one of the ones that Kylo takes down, because that'll make me sad. I can't handle any more of these younglings getting, cut down by people. So what I'm wondering is...
This is 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
So not long enough for Rey to be his teacher.
They'd be about the same age.
But, I wonder what made them go forward with this kind of show. Do you think they decided to do kids because Grogu had such a following and it kind of broke the Star Wars universe for a while and people kind of came back together for a bit because of Grogu? Do you know if that's why they decided to go with children?
I don't know when they...
Or what do you think?
I think it was a way to reset how we look at Star Wars again through children's eyes. When we first saw it.
Like see it through the eyes of children. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a good way for people in our age bracket who have kids or who have grandkids, depending on where you've started in life, to bring some of these new generations into the world of Star Wars, to make it something that is relatable to their age bracket so we can bring them in. That would be, for me, why I would think that they would want to do that would be... And this is kind of what I was saying. People were like, oh my God, like I hated all the new movies. I hated the old movies. I only like the middle movies. But
yeah,
the whole purpose of the new movies is because it's time to move forward to a new generation. Mm-hmm. It's time to let... The franchise can't die. Why would you want the franchise to die?
I just got an idea.
Okay.
Since this is 5 years after Return of the Jedi, what if Luke trains him? And he is one of the ones that Kylo Ren... But we don't necessarily know that Kylo Ren took out any children. They never said that. They never said that.
They allude to it.
They eliminate the order. They didn't say he killed kids.
I could have sworn, and maybe I heard it wrong, but I could have sworn they said that he took some with him, mm-hmm. and he got rid of the rest.
What if he's one of the ones that he took with him?
He doesn't seem the type.
Who knows?
Yeah. So will we see...
Or he just left the order.
Yeah.
Just like Grogu did.
I mean, there's not much of the order left. It's just Luke. Mm-hmm. It's pretty much Luke. Or anybody who's kind of on the fringes, who's doing the fringe type stuff. Jedi for hire or whatever they're doing. But I think that it's time for the franchise to bring in the new generations. And I enjoyed the way they did it with... Rey and Kylo Ren, and we're getting to see that step forward. I know a lot of people hated that.
So many people hated that.
I loved it so much.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. I thought that was definitely where we needed to go. Do I love...
It was like, it's just like... those movies were just like 6, 7, and 8. Well, that was the point. It's goes
cyclical.
for a circle.
It's a cyclical, yeah. That's what they're trying to show. Is there are these cycles, there are these trends, and it's that yin and yang of the good
balance.
And the bad. It's
the balance
yes,
of the Force.
Yes, and even if you see it in Skeleton Crew, you see the same thing. We're looking at that balance, mm-hmm. right? And we're looking at that inside of Jude Law's character, where he's like, am I good? Am I bad? Well, I'm a pirate. Well, but I kind of like these kids. Well, it's that...
They serve my purpose.
Yeah. So I thought they did a fantastic job.
They did a great job.
And the thing I like about this, too, that I think is important is now we're into some characters who live in the Star Wars universe, but they're not any of the characters we know. So now we're not getting to see like an imagining of Boba Fett's past life. We're not getting to see an imagining of where Ahsoka goes, right? Because I think people have these characters and they're such big characters, and people already have these ideas built up in their minds about what these characters were like before and after what we've seen them in. And so when they see other people's interpretations of it, that's what ticks them off.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't want to see this. This isn't right. This isn't the way it would have gone. This isn't the way, because they've
I was
already
like,
built
no,
it
you
up.
can't say that because these aren't characters we know. They're
Right.
brand new characters.
And so I'm hoping that that's something that can...
But I think they did a good job with that with Andor.
And Andor has been one of their more successful ones because, again, you're looking at characters that nobody knows from Andor. So it's not impacting the view that we already felt like we had of these characters. See, you and I, we don't mind. You know, we liked Solo, we liked, Boba Fett, we liked Ahsoka, because we like seeing other people's ideas and interpretations about how these things look, right? Yes, do I think that the stories may not have played out exactly that same way? Sure I do. I have my preconceived notions.
I think there was too much. People were talking, oh, it's not like the expanded universe. They changed so much in the expanded universe. I was like, there's so many books in the expanded universe that it can go too many ways. You gotta be able to compact that into something.
Well, and you have to understand that at some point you have to let the writers and the directors have artistic license to move the franchise in the way that they want to move it. They're like, oh, well, George Lucas this and George Lucas that. Well, George Lucas knows. He's been asked. He knows what's happening. Like, he's proud that other people want to take on his franchise. He's proud that they want to move it forward. He's proud that they want to do more with it, that they want to expand on this universe. So I don't know why everybody has to dig at it and dig at it and dig at it, And then...
Well, like, they got upset when they replaced Hayden Christensen. Well, replaced the Force Ghosts of Hayden Christensen in Return of the Jedi. From the old one to Hayden Christensen.
Yeah.
They hated that. And I was just like, well, but that's when he was a Jedi.
Right. Yeah.
That's when he was not Sith.
Right.
So it was early on. So that's kind of like, I think what you would bring forward. I would assume.
I don't know. This is
It's not like Yoda got any older when he was a Force Ghost.
Yeah. And this is why I try really hard not to read anything that the Star Wars general fanboy community says about anything. Because it just seems like their only joy in life is to find the negative in any of these Star Wars things. Because I wondered, and I was going to look it up, and then I decided not to. Because I can just hear them. Disney is trying to be too woke with Star Wars because they have this little boy who looks like he's, African American mixed race or something, and they have this little...
Were they really saying that?
This little Asian girl, who's a robot, and then...
I don't know what's up with them and not liking Asians.
They have this
Star
main
Wars.
character that's a girl. We didn't get enough girl stuff with Rey. Now we got to have another girl. Good characters are good characters. Like, it's not, it shouldn't be about that. It should be about, here's some good character. Here's these little kids that acted really well.
Yeah.
They had really good chemistry together. They played the parts very believably. I mean, you truly, I And I think you too, we got really immersed in those stories. Like,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
there with those kids. Like, you're like, run, don't do that. Please stop. What are you thinking? Dear God, you know. You're like on the edge of your seat the whole time, and you're like, how do they keep making these mistakes?
But we still look at it from the aspect of we would probably do the same thing if we were kids in their place.
Oh, right.
If we were kids while they were doing it and we were kids, we would probably react and do the same things that they're doing.
Right, because they're thinking with the mind of a child.
Right.
And they're thinking with the mind of children who know nothing about the broader galaxy. To an extent, they start to kind of understand, like, hey, there's some bad people who want to do some bad things, and I should probably look out for them. But it's funny because in one part, they find out that the credits kind of get them pretty far. So then they try to, like, bribe people basically with credits, and they're not very good at it. And then they realize that people find out that they have credits and that they're from At-Atten, and then they want to get them even more, and they're like, I can't win. I can't do anything. I can't get anybody to help me. No one will help me. So you feel bad. I mean, it wrenches your heart at first because here's these little kids out in space.
Yeah.
In space, you know, like this ship has taken them out in space. Not like there's no cell phones or anything. They can't call and say, hey, you know, there's no way to contact their folks. They have no idea where they're going. They don't know what to do. They've never had to live adult lives, you know.
They have a broken robot.
Cuckoo, cuckoo. He's a hot mess. He's hilarious. He's a hot mess.
He's funny.
He's funny. He's real funny. Which I think I love that about the Star Wars stuff.
You liked and hated him throughout this entire thing.
And I felt like that was definitely the point, right?
Yeah.
You really want him to do the right thing, and when he does, you are his biggest cheerleader. And then you know he's going to do the wrong thing, and when he does, you're really pissed off at him. You're like, God,
because you know it was coming.
I know, and you're like, don't do it. Don't do it. Dang it, you did it anyway. Yeah.
Because you don't want to see him be driven by just money.
You don't.
I'm just like, how can you be driven with money when you had what you had?
But I think that's you and I, and maybe it's because we grew up with episodes 4, 5, and 6, and so we grew up with this very distinct vision of, you know, here's Luke, he's going to become a Jedi, he's really good, the Jedi is everything that's good in the world, you know, and you just want to be good, you know, and they're the kings of justice.
And then you find out in the last 3, well, that Jedi weren't what they seemed to be.
No. Well, and you find out in the first 3 too, and then if you've watched Clone Wars and everything like that, you find out that there's all these gray areas for Jedi where if you grew up in our era, like the Jedis were like, oh.
Yeah, it was light and dark.
Yeah.
They really pushed that point. It was light and dark, and then everything else was gray.
And you really want Jude Law. There are times when you're like, come on, these are little kids. Like, we want the Jedi to come out in you, right? Just let all the good Jedi-ness out, you know, and use it for the children. No.
He never uses it for the children. Not the Force.
He uses the Force to trick the children.
To trick them, yeah.
He uses the Force to lie to the children. But he doesn't use it to help the children. And sometimes he kicks the children when they're down.
Yeah.
Which really pisses you off. You're like, these are little children out in the galaxy. What is wrong with you? Like, at least when the pirates are being...
Why are you putting a knife to his neck? To her neck.
You know, or kicking them down. Like, basically kicked her down. Okay. Now I'm the captain. Okay, thanks. You know, at least the pirates, you know, they expect them to be pirates. One of the things that cracked us up is one of the pirates is Urkel.
Urkel, yeah, Jaleel White.
Jaleel White. And Vincent was like, is that Urkel? Urkel's a pirate.
As soon as I saw it, just like, that's Urkel.
And I'm looking and I'm like, no, that dude's like 45 or
That doesn't
something.
sound like him.
That dude's like
That's
45.
Urkel.
That's not Urkel. He's like, it's Urkel. And I was like, no.
He's with Stevan now.
That's funny. I don't know. It's really cute, but it's also really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's very good characters. Oh, what is the little owl character reminds me of Maz,
Yeah.
right?
I like that we got to get kind of like a little bit of Raiders of the Lost Ark in there with the booby traps.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess that was one of the things that I guess I kind of felt with the Goonies vibe is I guess I'm getting kind of some of that like 80s vibe, right?
Yeah.
It was definitely something, it felt like a modernized version of something we would have watched
Right.
like in the 80s. So I think I really liked that, you know. You get a little Goonies, you get a little Breakfast Club, you know, you get a little
Raiders of the Lost
Raiders
Ark.
of the Lost Ark, yeah. You get a little bit of all of that, and I think that that's what helped it mesh really well. And I think that they picked really good kids.
Yeah, really
who
good actors.
Really worked really well, and were very believable in the parts. Like the little boy that plays Win, I mean, there are times when his heart is broken, and you feel like his heart is broken.
Yeah.
Like his view of the galaxy and the world and the Jedi is just broken. And it just hurts your heart because he's wanted so badly to be away from this planet that is sucking the life out of him. And then he sees, well, the universe kind of sucks the life out of you too,
Yeah.
you know? And so it's so sad. And
Physically.
yeah. And that little actor did such a good job. So believable.
Emoting all of that.
Yeah, he emoted all of that. And then the little girl that played Fern, she does such a good job because if you're paying attention to her, she's all bravado because she's scared on the inside, you know? And she also doesn't want to live in this world down this path that everybody's decided for her already, right? And she's strong, but she's also afraid. And she's afraid she's going to make the wrong choice, and she's afraid she's going to do the wrong thing, and she's afraid she's going to get her friends hurt. And so this little actress, I thought, did such a phenomenal job of just, again, emoting all of those things, and you really feel all of that pain. She does this really great face where it's just like, I'm in so much pain, and you're like, oh my God, good job, little girl. That was good. You know, it takes you sometimes to remember that it's just a show.
Right.
Because you're watching it and it is so believable what these kids are doing.
It does
so,
draw you in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, really draws you in. And makes you kind of sad that the episodes feel really short because you're like, you know, I can hang out in this episode a little bit longer. But really fun, really fast paced.
Yeah.
Never drags. You really want to see each of the next episodes and see what's happening. So I haven't looked to see, so I don't know if they're going to come out with a second season. But if they do, I would definitely watch.
I was going to ask you about the droids on Adden. Did they give you a stupidity vibe like the ones on Attack of the Clones?
Yes, I loved them. I loved them because they were just like those on the Attack of the Clones. What's happening? Where are we going? I don't know.
So we got a little bit more of that. So you get more of that, the stuff that we love in the show. And if you haven't seen it, it's definitely a watch.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's even when we're talking about the droids, it's a little cringy there for a while too. You feel kind of uneasy because there's almost this kind of martial law lockdown with these droids too. Like they're following you, they're keeping tabs on you, like you're not allowed to do certain things. And you realize later on that it's to keep the safety of this basically mint for the galaxy, right? But it's still kind of creepy.
Yeah.
And so when they all get shut down at the end, you're like, yes, be free, people, be free, you know? So, but overall, it's a really, really great show.
Yeah.
Like, you should just all go watch it and just enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah. Again, if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. Please like this video. Click on, go ahead and click on the share button if you want to share it with others. And click on the notification bell so next time we go live, you'll know. Hit that subscribe button too. But thanks for checking us out. I'm Vince.
And I'm Colleen.
Geek out, essay.